Hello and welcome to Quilt Addicts Anonymous. I'm Stephanie Soebbing, and today I'm here to show another tutorial for my latest book, the Panel Quilt Workshop. You can get signed copies over at shop.quiltaddictsanonymous.com. There are lots of projects for how to use your panels, and of course there's some quilt projects as well as lots of home decor like the placemats we're going to be making today. They are no piecing placemats, so that is really fun and really fast. And also some bags and other home decor projects. So make sure you check it out. This is maybe one of my favorite projects in the book because it's fast, it's easy, and you're able to have a finished project very quickly that's very usable. It's been very trendy for fabric companies to come out with entire panels that are just ready to go as placemats. So here's one, here's another one that's Valentine's, and this one is spring related. And there's so many options out there, and you literally just have to cut out your panel, make sure it's square, and stitch it up. And I've used decor bond and fusible fleece on the inside to give it a little bit of weight and also make it really stiff. Like, look how nice this stands upright. It really kind of does its own thing here. And the best part is you don't have to piece it. You just have to cut it, fuse it, stitch it together, done. Like, it's such a fast project, and you really can make it your own. Before we get going, I want to show you just a couple examples of some of the ones that I put together just for the photography and to give you guys some ideas. This one came from Clothworks. It was a panel that both had 4 of these really cute designs on it, and then on the opposite side there was a little panel, and so I just took some of the extra fabrics that they sent along to make some log cabins going around it. This one I did stitch down the center, but you don't have to do that. This one's from Riley Blake, and in the past year they put out one seasonal panel per month that works as a set of 6 placemats. So what I did with mine is I took it and I turned it into double-sided placemats. So one side is Valentine's, one side is patriotic 4th of July. So that way you can make the project one time, but still have enough placemats to go with 2 seasons. So that is really fun, and that one came with 2 different designs in it. So we had a couple of different options depending on what you're doing. Really allows you to create a really pretty tablescape. This one was also really fun to work with. This one I just did a plain back on because I thought that this one was more fancy and better for like an Easter tablescape because of all of the spring flowers that are in it. And I had so much fun decorating the table for this. I went to a bunch of different thrift stores and a couple antique shops near me and bought a mismatched china set and created this little boho chic tablescape. Actually went through and made a bunch of goodies to go with it so that I could photograph it. So one thing you might notice is that not one of these is the same size. So I can't give you a specific measurement on how to cut. It's going to be dependent on the panel that you are using. So I'm going to show you how to figure that out next. So this particular panel set has enough to make 4 identical panels that are all Christmas themed, and I went ahead and picked up some coordinating yardage for the back so that I can flip it over. I've got small kids, they spill things. This way I can get a little bit more use out of it before I have to go wash it. So we're going to set the backing to the side for now because we need to figure out what our measurement is going to be for the top first. Now if you've watched any of the videos when I'm talking about how to trim and cut these, you'll find that over and over again the panels are not actually printed square on the fabric. So we're going to first take a look and see how we're doing here. So when I line up, oh, this one's bad. When I line up this area here on the left, you can see how high up. That's probably a good like 1/3 of an inch difference there. So this is going to be a really good one for showing you how to manipulate the fabric to make it work within the space that we're working on. But just to humor me, I'm gonna go ahead and measure the distance here. It's 18.5, which is a really decent panel size for a placemat. So I don't know that I'm going to use the background at all. All right, so also 18.5 here, and let's see, 11 and also 11. So the measurements are the same. They're just really printed very, very crooked on the panel. I'm going to go ahead and cut 1/8 of an inch on the outside of each of these. And the reason why I'm picking 1/8 of an inch, I know that that's a weird measurement, but the reason why I'm going to do it in this case is because this Santa cookie and over here are pretty close to that edge. And I'm going to lose at least 1/4 inch as I flip this right sides out. So, because there's no binding on these, it's just a little knife edge situation. So what I want to make sure that I do is I don't lose part of that Santa. So I could do a full 1/4 inch on the outside, but then I'm risking seeing a little bit of the red on the outside, which is why I'm going to do the pain in the butt thing that quilters don't like to do. And I'm going to cut it 1/8 of an inch on the outside. And I am not going to try to square it up at this point. I'm just going to let it be, and we will square it up when we fuse it to the decor bond. All right, so to repeat, I am not worrying about what's square because nothing on here is square, not one thing. So I'm just lining it up so that I've got 1/8 of an inch just on the outside. The 1/8 of an inch mark is right where the edge of that black meets the red. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a trim. Again, 1/8 of an inch, even where the black meets the red. Now, if you are doing that double-sided placemat, like what I did from the 2 panels from Riley Blake, the Valentine and the Patriotic, you're going to want to make sure that you're cutting both of those to the same size and that they are both can be cut to the same size without looking silly. The other option, which is what I'm about to do now, is to cut the same size from your backing fabric and a coordinating fabric, which is what I'm going to do with that. So I'm going to need to cut my backing and my decor bond to the same size. Now, decor bond is going to go on both the front and the back, so make sure you cut 2 of those for every 1 placemat you're making. Now we're going to do some major fabric manipulation in order to get our panel, which is very warped, to fit on our nice and square piece of decor bond that we've cut. Now, I will tell you not all panels are like this. Several of the other ones I did were no big deal getting them on to fit nicely. This one is a bad one, and so it's good that we have it for the tutorial to show you how to make that work. So I've got my decor bond with the shiny side up. The shiny side has the glue. You always want to, when you're pressing, to have the fabric in between you and the interfacing, because if you mess that up and accidentally put the shiny side going down, it's a lot easier to pull it off of your ironing surface than it is to get it off of your iron. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to start just by getting 1 corner lined up. I'm not worried about anything else that's happening. I'm just going to do like 1 inch on either side of this and just kind of put my iron on that. And I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom corner here. And since I have this pretty well aligned with the bottom, I'm going to do like the bottom inch only. This is kind of like when you're putting a t-shirt quilt together and you want to get your edges of your interfacing secured first, and before you put your applique pressing sheet over. This is a really good way to sort of just make it work. All right, just so it's easier for me to work, I'm turning it now so that the next side I'm going to work on is closer to me. And this is where you can start to see that it's getting weird. It is definitely angled and not in a good way. So I'm going to pull that corner down so that way the corner of my fabric is meeting up with the corner of my interfacing. And I'm just going to go ahead and again just get like the inch of that corner. Nothing more than that, as we've got to manipulate everything. Okay, so now I like to kind of flip it up, and I'm going to use my fingernails to kind of pull this down where it needs to go. So at this point I'm going to do like 1/2 at a time because that's about as much as I can hold together in the right spot. And now I'm going to get the other side. Your goal here is to keep the fabric as flat as possible because you don't want to see bumps in the fusing, but you do want to get it as even to the edges as possible. So that is looking a lot better than it did when we started. You can see that it's kind of pulling here. We're going to work on getting that done and laying nice and flat once we get all of our edges secured. So I'm going to start with this huge edge here. And actually, I think I'm going to do this corner here first. I want to get my edges all done. And you can see I kind of have some extra, it looks like extra fabric to ease in. It isn't, because we did the measuring is on. So you just have to get it to be nice and flat for you. All right, so at this point, we've got our short edges and our bottom edge all pinned up. And you can see there's a lot of movement here. There's a big pull happening right in there where it's kind of popping up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of work from the bottom up here, getting things flat as I go. So this area needs some help. I'm going to hit that first and just kind of do the bottom couple inches. And again, if you do this pretty early on, you can peel up the fabric from the interfacing if that will make it a little easier for you to get it nice and flat. So at this point, I'm just going to kind of go straight up to kind of fuse this down and immediately check to make sure I don't have any lumps or bumps there. We don't want to have folds in the fabric because that will be very visible. And now you cannot tell that this was a crooked, hot mess anymore because we fused it to the piece. I'm going to flip it over, and I can see that we did end up with a little bit excess here. So I am going to trim that off just so that it's not confusing when I go to sew my pieces together. But I'm just going to trim it nice and even with my interfacing because I know that that is square. And I'm also going to repeat the same process with the other side of the placemat with my backing fabric, and that should be nice and easy because that we did cut square because we didn't have to work with a printed panel that wasn't at a 90-degree angle. But now you can't tell. It looks great. One of the last things I need to do is cut my fusible fleece, and we're going to apply that to the front side only of our placemats. Now the reason we didn't cut this at the same time as we cut everything else is this needs to be cut a little bit smaller. We're going to cut it 1/2 inch less than whatever our measurement was for our placemat top. What this does is it allows us to center it on the back of the front side of our placemat, and then we won't have that extra bulk in the seams when we go to turn it out, which will make it a little bit easier to do. So whatever you cut your top measurement to, you're going to reduce that by 1/2 inch and go ahead and trim. And again, this is going to be different for everyone and every single placemat that you do because no two are really printed the same. There is not a standard size that is being used in the industry. I've got my fusible fleece trimmed, and again, I've got the shiny bumpy side up. That's the side that has the glue on it. And we're going to place the top of our placemat on top of that. What I do like to do is just make sure I kind of have it centered by looking at the back here, but I am not going to press from this side because again, if I accidentally got things flipped around, it's a lot easier to get the glue off of your pressing surface than it is off of your iron. So once I have it nice and centered, I'm going to take it with my 2 hands and flip it over, keep everything nice and together. And I'm not normally someone who feels the need to use any type of spray starch or best press, but I do find that it helps everything fuse together when you have so many layers for this. So I'm going to go ahead and give that top a good spritz, and then I'm going to go through and fuse it. And with this one, I go from the center out, just kind of gently going over. And once I've done that one time, I'm going to go over another time and probably a third just to make sure that I have everything nice and together. Once I think I have it, I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and just do a test, make sure everything is secured really well, and it is, so we are good to go here. Now there isn't really a right or a wrong side to my backing fabric, but if there was, you would want to make sure to match that with whatever the right side is of your placemat. I'm going to go ahead and lay those right sides together, and then I'm going to secure the edges with clips. I find you don't really need a ton of clips, just putting it in the corners is fine because everything is so stiff at this point with the way that we applied our interfacings to it, it really isn't going anywhere. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start at the bottom and we're going to start with a back stitch, and we're going to make our way all the way around and then end with a back stitch, leaving about 5 to 6 inches opening so you can reach your hand in and turn to pull it right side out. I'm going to stitch this entire project with a walking foot, just to make life a little easier on myself. I'm putting the needle in the center position and I'm lining it up where I know a 1/4 inch mark is on my machine. I'm going to start by stitching about 3 stitches forward and 3 stitches back just to anchor those stitches, and then I'm going to start sewing ahead. When I hit a 1/4 inch away from the edge, I'm going to lift my foot up and set it back down and keep turning around. What I like to do when I get around is take a clip and put it about a hand width distance from where I started. That way I know where to stop and I don't accidentally go too far. All right, so I'm going to back stitch and we're going to pull it off the machine. Now we're going to go through and clip our corners. You want to make sure that you're clipping close to the stitching but not over it, because then you'll pop your corner out and it won't be good. We're going to do that to all 4 corners. Now I'm going to insert my hand in the opening and pull it through. I find it easiest if you grab a corner first and pull that through, because then it's easier to push everything else through from there. Take your time with this. We don't want to pop the seams that we backstitched. So this is a corner turner, but it actually is really handy for any time you're turning pieces out like this for bags or placemats. What you're going to do is you're going to take your pointy end and you're going to stick it inside, and you're going to actually kind of wiggle it around in there to push everything out as far as you can. You do want to be careful. I have popped corners open and broken seams on this, so you just want to gently work on it to get it nice and pointy. And I like to do this part with what's going to be the top of the placemat on top. That way I can see how it's going to look when it's all finished and that side looks nice and neat. So now we need to give this a good press before we finish it up. I'm going to use the spray starch again and get it pretty saturated, because it probably got pretty wrinkly going back and forth. The black doesn't show it as much, but the lighter fabrics really do. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of using my fingernails to push everything out, and because we cut that fusible fleece a little bit smaller, that should be pretty easy to do at this point. I'm going to repeat on the sides, and again, this is why I do it with what is considered the right side up, because I can make sure that I'm not seeing any of that backing rolling over to the front. I'm going to also do the bottom until where my opening is, and we're going to repeat that on the other sides as well. Now for this bottom section, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold under and sort of finger press the bottom first, because I might need to change where that is, because my ultimate goal is to have a nice straight look through here. I'm going to give it a little bit of a press just to kind of help encourage that to go over. And now I'm going to take my upper part and starting at the edge, because then I can see that it looks straight, I'm going to go ahead and give that a press, and I'm going to put a clip in right where I just worked, just so I can make sure that that stays in place. I've got that where it needs to be, so now I'm going to thread up a needle and I'm going to whip stitch it. It's going to be kind of hard to see because I'm using a coordinating thread. So I'm going to start by pushing the needle out just about a 1/4 inch beyond where my opening is. And I'm going to pull that so that the knot is secure within that fabric. And then I like to flip it over, because I like to have the front side that has a fusible fleece to where I can bury that needle in. And from here, I'm just going to pick up a couple of stitches from each side, and I'm just going to continue that, grabbing a little bit of the back and a little bit of the front and pushing it through. And I'm probably making my stitches maybe 1/8 of an inch wide, and I'm really trying to sew within where the seams are instead of around the edges, because then it's a little bit more invisible. I've got everything whip stitched from the bottom. It's looking really good. All my edges are looking super straight, which is a small miracle given what we started with. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to edge stitch about a 1/4 inch away from everything, just to keep everything in place, and it'll help when it's washed to be able to retain its shape a little bit better without having to push out all those edges again. Whenever I'm stitching something like this, I like to start at the bottom. That way if anything is a little weird, it's not in a completely obvious spot. Although for placemats, you know, you're going to see it, but it's not as obvious as the top of the plate. couple inches away from where I started. And what I like to do before I go all the way over is snip my threads. And that way I don't accidentally have like a thread nest in a very obvious spot, which we do not want. So I'm going to go a little slower here, and I'm going to concentrate on really stitching over that first line of stitches that I started so it looks very seamless. And we're going to end with a little bit of back stitching. Again, be very careful, just try and keep it all over the same line so it looks nice and neat. All right, so here is our finished placemat. It is nice and square. It looks absolutely fabulous, and we can use both sides of it because it looks really fun, and it's very nice and stiff. That really holds up really well. It's not going to flop over. So it's going to be a perfect place to put our place setting on, and maybe just serve some Christmas cookies on for this one. But you can see it's really fast, really easy. You can definitely make up a set of these in an afternoon, maybe a day if you are not as advanced of a seamstress, but it is really a fun way to spruce up your table, have a whole stack of them for all the seasons, and really just protect that table and have it looking cute all at the same time. Make sure you go grab a copy of the Panel Quilt Workshop by me. You can get a signed copy over at shop.quiltaddictsanonymous.com. Make sure you like and subscribe for lots more videos, and check out all the other projects that we have in the book. There are quilting projects for actual big quilts, as well as more home decor projects like this one and some totes. So no matter what you have going on in that panel stash, and I know you have one, you can absolutely make it work with one of the patterns that is in this book. Thanks so much, and until next time, happy quilting.